So we will look at this green field. You have a great game, you are in this green field. First thing is to equip yourself with the tools that you need to monitor the performance of your game, to understand which levers are going to affect it, and then go through the life cycle of the game. So first is the birds and bees, the metrics, the things that you need to grow the game. Right? Once you know them, then you have a foundation. We will discuss these. Second is what I call love at first sight. Right? Your player meets the game, he should fall in love with it. You should create the situation where players and the game meet, and they like to play it again and again. That's the love at first sight. Right? And there is the courtship period. Right? He installs the game whether he comes back tomorrow or not, whether he comes back again or not at all, or whether he keeps coming back again and again. How do you make that happen? And once you have done all that, well, then there could be a happily ever after, where essentially you are making money out of that player. You are entertaining him again and again, and going through that cycle and creating a successful enterprise out of the game. So, most important thing, the foundation. Metrics, right? This is the dark art of PMing that everybody lives and dies by. So let's look at some of the metrics. So starting with, we'll look at some of the growth metrics. And so first one is installs, right? Very simple. How many people installed your game on that particular day? A number which is very, very important to measure and track. And we'll see this in more detail, right? Then you have other numbers like DAU, how many people are playing your game every day. WAU, how many people are playing it every week. You have MAU, how many people are playing every month. So that is for slightly older games. Another very important metric, organic ratio, which is simply how many free installs you get for every paid install. So here a paid install is an install that you get through either advertising or a paid cross promotion or any other paid means. So if your game is getting 5 free installs for every paid install, then you are in a very good shape. But if you are getting 1 for everyone, then you have to really spend a lot in growing your game. So we'll look at these metrics in detail, right? Then people also measure something called engagement, which is essentially DAU divided by MAU, which only tells that how much your players who are playing this game like this game. So how often they are coming back. But this is a lot of information. It's a wall of text. Not all of that is important. One of the important metrics is retention, right? Retention is essentially, if you take an example of D1 retention, a day after install, if 50 out of 100 people come back to play the game, your D1 retention is 50. Similarly, 7 days after install, if 2 people come back to play your game, your D7 retention is 2. Very simple metric, but it can be used in very powerful ways, which we will see later. So out of all this wall of text, right, you can forget everything and just remember these 3. These are most essential for growth, right? Track number of installs. Know your organic ratio, because you are spending on ads. You want your organic ratio to be good, and you need to do things to improve it. And we'll see what we'll do for that. And track your retention on a very, very diligent way. So let's go one level of detail, right? So install, right? So simply, first thing is obviously to know how many people come each and every day. But more important is that what means they are coming from. So for example, you have released your game on iPhone and iPad, and you're saying you're getting a lot of installs on iPad, but you're not getting any installs on iPhone, or very few installs on iPhone, right? Then there is a problem. If you are dividing your install numbers by devices, you will essentially know that, oh, my game works really well on iPad, probably it crashes on iPhone, or the other way around. Then you have something you can fix. Similarly, a lot of time you will like to look at whether the installs are coming from a Facebook source, or whether the installs are coming from the ad source, or whether they are coming from some other marketing campaign that you did. And then you can figure out which one is working well and which one is not. You can track by ad provider or region. Region sometimes is very, very important. You might be getting a lot of installs from China, but your game is in English. So what's the point, right? You're wasting your money. So key thing to remember is, right, if you can explain this variation in daily installs, why you got 1,000 today and 5,000 yesterday, If you can understand that and understand the sources which performed and didn't perform, then you can do something about it. Either invest in one source or fix some other source or do something like that. So very important to have a tabs on that. Second one, as we talked about, retention. So just to reiterate, just look at that inverted funnel kind of thing, right? So day one or even day 0, the launch day of the game, 100 people come and install your game, right? So you have installs equals to 100 players, right? And D1 is 1 day after the install. So out of those 100 people, 50 people come back to your game and other 50 don't come back to your game. So D1 retention is 50, right? D2 retention of this game is 40, right? Can somebody tell what is the D7 retention of this game? Anybody? Right, so it's right there, right? D7 retention is 10 because 10 people will come after 7 days out of 100 installs. So it's just telling how sticky your game is. If your game is really, really good, maybe 90% people are going to come and play 7 days after install. And if the game is like a really bad game, which this game seems like, only 10 out of 100 will come on the 7th day. Rest 90 have lost any interest whatsoever on this game. So these are the numbers that you look at. Generally, most of the games track D1, D7, and D30 retention just to figure out immediate retention of the game, medium-term retention of the game, and slightly longer-term retention of the game. And again, in case of retention, just like installs, you are tracking by various sources. So you are tracking by devices, you are tracking by languages, regions, and various other things. So again, for the same example, if you take the iPhone and iPad example, if your retention on iPhone is really low and iPad is really high, you can easily guess that maybe the game is not optimized for that small screen, or there is some issue with the device and it doesn't load, or something like that is happening, and then you can go ahead and fix it, right? Third important metric is organic ratio. So organic ratio is nothing, it's the ratio of non-paid or free installs to the installs from ads or cross promotion or any paid things. So first example, right? I mean, on a particular day, you got 2,000 free installs and 1,000 installs that you paid for. So organic ratio of that game for that day is 2, right? On some other day, for some other game, it might be 3. Higher it is, better it is for you, because then you are spending less on ads and getting more and more installs. And we'll look at some techniques of how to move this number. So that were the quick 1-minute tour of the DAU and growth metrics. Now let's look at some revenue metrics, right? So rev per DAU is one of the revenue metrics that people look at. Very simple metric, total money that you made in a day divided by total number of players who played in a day. Interesting thing about this metric is that it is kind of property of the genre of the game. So a running game will have a smaller rev per DAU, and a majority, castle building and fighting kind of game would have higher rev per DAU. So looking at what kind of game you're making, you can have a decent idea of this, and you should be trying to reach the industry standards for these metrics for the type of game that you are building, right? Second thing is lifetime value or LTV. Complicated definition, but very simple thing. If a person installs your game today, how much money you are expecting him to pay to you in his lifetime of playing this game? If the game is highly monetizing, you would expect more money, otherwise you will expect less money. This can be modeled, and you can Google it out. It can be modeled using retention of the game and rev per DAU of the game. Higher retention, he will stay longer, so he will pay you more. Higher rev per DAU, that means that he will be paying more to you every day. That means he will pay more to you, right? And third is monthly active payers or MAP, which is essentially how many people paid you in last 30 days. Again, a very good metric to measure the health of your game after it has launched. Again, you can forget everything, just remember this one. This will be very, very important later in this presentation when we figure out how to do your marketing spend. So quick recap, we looked at the growth metrics, we looked at the revenue metrics. But most important thing that we looked at, that once you understand this metric, you have to track these on daily basis and make your decisions based on these than anything else. So going to the next section, how to take your game to the people, right? You have launched the game. You want more and more people to experience your game, play it, and hopefully they will like it. So before we do that, right, we need to kind of take a step back and ask ourselves, right, last time when you installed a game, right, why did you install it? And there is a lot of research that has happened there. And most of the time, kind of the research that shows is reason one, you just went to the App Store, saw something at the top of the charts, right? Words with Friends is at the top of the chart. A lot of people are likely to install it, right? So to be popular, you have to be popular. It's an interesting concept, but this cycle can be broken, and we'll see how. Number two, and less obvious, a friend recommended this thing to me offline. So it's not even like an online Facebook feed or ad you saw, but someone was playing and said that this is awesome. You got to either play with me, against me, or just look at the art, it is so good, right? So that is the word of mouth. Word of mouth affects your organic ratio, as we saw, right? One player installs it because of an ad, he tells 10 people, dude, you must play it, it's so good. And that is something that you need to drive. And then comes everything else, cross-promo, ads, all these old marketing techniques, right? But all of them are highly expensive. In this presentation, and all others, you can always look at online, but these two, we will be focusing the first two in this presentation. Okay? Cool. So, moving on, right? So if you look at the first one, right, how do you reach at the top of the App Store? It is possible to reach at the top of the App Store with a very few number of installs, because it's more dependent on the install velocity in last few days and the quality of the app. So first thing you need to have is a very good app quality. That means the star rating of your app should be phenomenal. Like below 4, like forget about it, right? 4.5 and above, you're talking something serious. 4.8, you are in a very good zone. So that is very, very important. And second thing is maintain a good install velocity when you launch it. So on the launch day, you should have concentrated ad spend or viral marketing campaign, this and that, whatever you want to do, right? All the optimization, all should be done on day one. You should not have maintained a slow install velocity for a long, long time. It's better to have a high install velocity for a short amount of time if you can manage that. Similarly, word of mouth, if you want to drive it, right? One is social interaction. If the game is built around social interaction, playing with someone, fighting with someone, helping someone, that kind of thing, you will see higher word of mouth, right? Fun with friends. Social recommendations, you can work with the bloggers and partners and those kind of things, and we'll see some examples of those, how you can get a word of mouth going. So, first and foremost, as we saw, how to top the App Store chart, right? So, let's take a minute of pause, right? You are seeing this App Store picture. Cityville, hometown at the top, Farmville 2 after that, and in the green box, you can see a certain app rating. It's not very clear here, but it's very close to 5. It's like 4.8 or 4.9 kind of thing, right? Which instantly shows that it's a very high quality game. So if someone sees it, says that it's awesome. But it's more important than that, because there is a search algorithm in all the app stores. And it has a very, very high weightage for the star rating that you have. So essentially, if you have a high star rating and someone search city or city-related games or city types games, a high star rating game like Cityville Hometown will come first, and anything which has like say 3-star probably will come after a page. And that gives you a strong lever. And building that app store rating doesn't require you to invest any money as such. It requires you to have very simple thing like low crash rate and very good load time. A lot of apps have bad rating because of these things, right? Another very good technique is that instead of waiting for the player to come and rate your app, you should put a pop-up, rate us now pop-up kind of thing in the game. But put it at the time when the player is happy. He had a positive experience like winning a battle, having a level up, or he unlocked something. That kind of euphoric experience when the player has that and you show him this pop-up, right? He's more likely to. So do use that, right? And most important thing, there are tools available to manage these on daily basis. So you look at them, you figure out whether it's going up, going down, you figure out why it's happening, and then you fix it. So that should be full-time job once you have launched the app to look at the app ratings. Okay? So from the app rating, we come to App Store optimizations. Here also, if you go and look at various new games and smaller games, right, you will see a huge difference on these pages of newer games versus established companies. A lot of time you will find the clear description or images or text, and those things are missing. Very few apps right now have videos. So putting a very good video of your app is a very, very distinguishing technique at this point of time. So to put that there, right? App Store allows you to put, I think, up to 100 keywords to describe your app. Make use of all 100 of them. Look at web and other websites to figure out which are the popular keywords, and also figure out which are the keywords which are not being used by many apps. Ideally, you want keyword associated with your app which is very, very popular but not being used by many apps in that category. Right? So there are places in internet, just Google it, you will figure out how to figure that out. But then you should put those keywords in your app, and you will see that your app will zoom up in rankings. Localize everything, right? So if possible, localize your game, first of all. This is very, very expensive. If you can't do that, at least localize everything in this App Store page, right? So if you have an image and there is text in it, localize it for the market. That itself increases your CTRs a lot, right? If you are going on Android, definitely surely integrate with Google+. It gives you a lot of social recommendation kind of thing. When you go to the Google Play Store, it will show that these 5 friends downloaded this app, which is a very strong social recommendation. And it's a very easy thing to do as a developer, right? Other things that you can try is just getting higher surfacing in App Store. And some of that, you will have to work with Apple or Google for that. So one of the things is featuring, where they constantly feature